Welcome everyone. I will wait another minute for the most to be connected and introduce myself. My name is Willem-Jan Vrijenhoek. I'm an account manager healthcare at Ultimo, and I am your moderator for today. First, a friendly note: you can ask some questions in the chat during the presentation, which I will pass on at the end of the presentation. You can find the chat on the right side of your screen. This presentation will be given by René Drost from NAMCO. The presentation is about teamwork in medical asset management. René, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Willem-Jan. Happy to be here. Just as a small introduction, my name is René Drost. As a company, NAMCO, we offer regulatory overviews, and with that, we support hospitals in applying safe medical technology and also manufacturers to keep their products safe on the market. And all these programs include change management, and that's in fact one of the key elements of my presentation today. We know Ultimo since many years, and we are proud to be here in this conference today. So teamwork. Teamwork is about collaboration. It's about a group of people, and it's in order to achieve goals. And some of these goals have already been mentioned at the start of this conference: uptime, cost control, efficiency. In the previous presentation, Robert-Jan van Lippevelde mentioned compliance. And all these goals have to be achieved under different circumstances, like the weather in this picture for this rowing team, but especially in hospitals that have to deal with many hundreds of suppliers, and all these suppliers have their specific supply chain problems. We saw that picture of the canal, the Suez Canal, with the ship. The main message of my presentation is in fact extremely simple, but there is a degree of complexity, and I hope that will be an eye-opener for you. One eye-opener a day keeps the doctor away, but I'm sure that there will be many eye-openers this afternoon in this conference. In this, especially in the field of healthcare, that's an environment that's heavily regulated. There are many standards, there are many regulations. So what you would expect is that also there is at least some guidance or checklist for teamwork. It should already be on paper somewhere. So we have this standard ISO 9000 standard, of course, which is known to everybody here. We have in Holland a covenant medical technology for safe application of medical technology in hospitals. We have new European regulations. There is a brand new standard on medical equipment maintenance program in health delivery organizations, so in hospitals. It's in the draft stage, but it will be expected to be released next year. And quite recently, there was an ISO standard, the 10010, about quality culture, and especially in that one, you would expect something about teamwork. But that's not the case. In this ISO standard, there is one word that comes close, that's the word expectation. But to be honest, that's expectation from the customer. So it's client wishes and client requirements. So nice try, no cigar, zero hits. And if you go to the subject of today of asset management, there is an ISO standard, the 5500 series. And that stipulates that there is responsibility of the top management to ensure that there are adequate resources to promote cross-functional teams collaboration. So in preparing the presentation for today, I realized that it's quite visionary what the Ultimo board has decided to focus on teamwork, because it all looks that common sense, but it's not. So what elements are there? Tasks, processes, and relationships. Now, there are many presentations today on tasks and on processes, and I will focus on the part of the relationship, the individuals, what happens there. There are two elements that I would like to emphasize. One is speak the same language. In the previous presentation of Servitect, the ISM model was mentioned. And the ISM model is based on 6 basic processes: service level management, quality management, change, incident management, configuration management, and the operations management. There is an umbrella of governance above that. And when you introduce such a system in the hospital, it means that people speak the same language. And this model has been adopted by several hospitals. There are a significant number of hospitals in the Netherlands who use the model, and it's proven. It's proven to make the effectivity of IT departments to a higher level, but also it stimulates the cooperation between IT and medical technology. So speak the same language. The second is on the individual level. It's very important to understand each other. And again, that looks like common sense, but it's not. Now let's do a quiz, and please use the chat, and Willem-Jan will support me by this. Let's do a quiz to see if you really understand what I just said. Let's assume a relationship within a small team of 2 co-workers and yourself. So it's a team of 3. And the question is, this teamwork has a level of effectiveness. And how many perceptions on how effective the team is does this team of 3 have? And there are 4 options. Option A is there are 3 perceptions. Option B is 8. Option C is 9. And option D is 18. Now, please, I'll give you a minute and respond through the chat to see what your expected answer to the question is. So how many perceptions on the effectivity of the teamwork in this little small team of 3 are there? Is it 3, 8, 9, or 18? And this is applicable for a team in a working situation, but the same question, in fact, I could ask the same question for a family, small family, man and wife and a child, or 2 persons and a dog or a cat. How many perceptions on the effectivity of the teamwork does this small team have? Willem-Jan, do you already have some answers?
Yes, the first few answers are coming in. Mostly B and C, so 8 or 9. And 9 is has the most answers. So I also see 1 D.
Yes, there's one person I shared the presentation already with, so probably I suspect who he is.
Okay.
Yes.
Now there's 2. So
now there's 2. Okay, good. Well, this is, and again, this is just for the discussion. It's the world according to René today. But the right answer that I was looking for is answer D, 18, and I will explain. Let's make the team a little bit smaller. You are with 2 persons, you and a colleague, or you and a friend. Person on the left has a perception on the effectivity on the relationship. But there is also an assumption how he thinks that the other person, the person on the right-hand side, regards that effectivity of the relationship. So in fact, he has 2 perceptions, one of his own, and the other one is an assumption about how the other person thinks about it. For the other person, that applies as well. So in this simple working relationship of 2 persons, there are 4 perceptions. When you do this calculation in 3 before, then you come to 18. And you could try, just by making a graph on paper, how many perception of a team effectiveness exists in a team of 5. And I've put there on the sheet a graph which is called a RACI matrix, which stands for reliability, accountability, to be consulted, to be informed. In Dutch, that's called VERI matrix. So it's quite usual that the head of a biomedical service department has 4 colleagues. The head of clinical department, of course, that's his main customer, internally in the hospital, head of ICT, head of purchasing, a budget keeper, the senior management. So just try to calculate how many perceptions are there in a team of 5. And the reality is that there are many more people. So it becomes very, very complex just to understand each other and to be aware. We've seen this graph before today. The biomedical service department has goals that's basically aimed at safe medical devices and high availability, uptime already mentioned. And that's what I just try to illustrate is hard work. And it's not obvious. It should not be taken for granted. So do reality checks all the time. And my last sheet is the takeaway of this presentation. You have to speak the same language, use models such as ICM, ISM, Integrated Service Management. A solid instrument such as IFS Ultimo is fundamental for understanding each other's roles, and you have to do it together. No one can whistle a symphony. It takes a whole orchestra to play it. That's it, Willem-Jan. Thank you all for listening.
So I will put myself back in the spotlight. We have still a few minutes to spare. There's still time to ask some questions, so please send them in the chat. There's already one question. You said the effective communication is the most important part of the teamwork. What would be a first step to assess if the communication is effective?
To assess, well, that could be very simple by just making it part of the management team meetings. If you have meetings, one of the first agenda items could be that, or make an interview round. Anyhow, it's good to make it to quantify how people think about it and be honest. I think it's very important to be honest.
Yeah. And if a customer wants some help to assess every step on the way, what help could they get?
Well, I think it's too simple to ask for external help. This is something that you really should do yourself. If you need coaches for that, there are probably more problems in the team than just the communication part. So if you really don't, if the reality is that you're not able to make steps, then it's time to ask from help from a neutral person from outside.
And who are the most important stakeholders for a project like this?
Within a hospital, you mean?
Yes, maybe within a hospital. Yeah.
Yes. Well, you have the head of the clinical department is the main customer of a bioservices services department, but also head of ICT and purchasing. And there is someone who has the task to keep the budget. So you have to keep him as a friend as well. Okay.
There are no further questions. So if you have any questions, please let them know via the chat. For now, I want to thank you, René, for your presentation and your clear takeaway on the teamwork part. If there are any questions at the end, please send them to us and we will make sure that they get answered at the end of the Congress. For now, this was the last breakout session. The next main session will start in a few minutes, so you can go back to the main stage.